Hello and welcome to Uniko's 12 Days of Christmas Inspiration and Giveaways, Day 7. Thank you for joining me today, and I can't quite believe that we're already in week 7. You may have come via our blog post today, my blog post, where you will have seen I've got 2 cards already up over on the blog. Where I have used Mid-Century Modern Christmas and for one card, which I'll show you in a second, and I've also been using the Layering Bauhaus Blocks stencil, where you get 3 stencils in the collection. But I'll get to these products in a little bit. Let's have a look at the cards I have already shared on the blog post. So this one, this first card here, it was inspired by the Kaz Colours and Sketches challenge this week. I absolutely loved the challenge of the sketch. I just immediately thought of the triangle of the Christmas tree, using that as part of the sketch, and then the bow from the Mid-Century Modern Wreath Builder, which this Christmas sentiment is from, and the wishes is from Birthday Sentiments. I wasn't 100% keen on the colours, but I think mainly because of the rust and the yellow, but I think it works reasonably well for a Christmas card, a clean and simple one anyway. And then I was inspired to have a play around with the Layering Bauhaus Blocks stencil. I've been doing a few cards where I have just selectively used a few of the images, the few of the blocks from the overall stencil. So what I did here, hopefully you'll see when I layer it over, I actually masked off everything on the stencil apart from the leaves and the linear one, and I did the same on each three of the layers. Well, for this one I only needed again, I just had to mask off a couple over this side, and then this one I had to mask off again to be able to do the red. And then I repeated the same process to be able to do the dots to fill this area in here. I did debate using an image from Mid-Century Modern Florals to fill that gap, but I wanted to use the stencil and see if it worked. Obviously here you can see that I've used the sentiments from the Mid-Century Modern Wreath Builder. I could have fit the larger Christmas in with the smaller Merry, but I thought I wanted to keep it a little bit more sort of compact. And the Christmas tree I fussy cut out. It's fairly easy being a triangle, and I adhered it using foam adhesive and just added a little embellishment star at the top. So for my card in the video today, I was inspired by this card that I'm also sharing today over on the blog. Uniko is a proud sponsor of the Coffee Lovers Fall Winter blog hop, which starts today. It runs from today till the 10th of November. The idea is that you make a coffee, tea, hot beverage themed card, newly created, no backlinking to old products. You link it up with a chance to win a prize from one of the many sponsors taking part, and this is the card that I made for the hop today. So if you know Uniko products well, as you'll be able to see that I've used the mod background builder stencil here in the background, and I really sort of enjoyed playing with this layout. So this is the inspiration for the card that I'm making today in the video here. So I'll move that out to the side. So I'm going to be using the stencils first. So I've gone ahead and I've trimmed a piece of Concord and 9th Parsley cardstock to 10.5 by 14, and I've temporarily adhered it to my work base. Now, whenever I use the Layering Bauhaus Blocks stencil, I always start with this layer here that has the 5 lines at the top. That way I can almost centralize it fairly easily on my card. It doesn't have to be perfect because I am going to fill most of all of the card base in, and some of the design is going to be covered up, unfortunately, but this is just a good way of showing you how this stencil works again if you haven't watched me demonstrate it before. So I'm just going to use a bit of tape here to secure it to my workspace. You could use one of the grip mats or things that are on the market now, but I find this just as easy. Now, where is my brush that I've been using? There it is. So I'm using evergreen ink onto the parsley background just to give a bit more colour, deep green depth, and I'm just ink blending with a brush, and it should be fairly easy because we're just going to stick to one colour. And I don't think, since I've released this stencil, that I've done all 3 layers in the same colour, so we'll see how it turns out. I might regret doing all 3. It might not work how I want it to work. Thinking about it, I might actually use the parsley colour as well for one of the layers and see how that goes. Just for the... yeah, I am going to use 2 colours of green, thinking about it, because otherwise some of the layers just aren't going to show up as well. As I say, I'm just winging it today with my idea, so we'll see how it turns out. So we'll start off with evergreen for this top layer. I might alternate the layers, we'll see. Then for my second layer, I always use the one with the 4 lines in the design, because then you can line it up and centralize them along with lining up with the other pieces in the design. So my only thinking, if I did all the same colour, it's where these designs sort of overlap here and here with the already inked evergreen colour, that they literally would just blend together and you'd get more of a solid look rather than the individual elements. So that's why I've decided I will go in with parsley, and it'll give a slightly different shade of green. Even though it's tone on tone, it should still stand out from the base card, but it shouldn't blend in too much with the evergreen that I've already inked with. And we'll see the result as I complete this layer. It's a little bit harder to see where you have inked when you're doing tone on tone, but you can take a little peek there. Oh, and I'm liking that, that's looking really good. So I think for the next layer I will use another green as well, just so we get some nice depth and you can see the pattern built in. See, there is layer 2. I'll just lift this up. So Concord and Ninth have a lot of lovely greens, which is good. They brought out a few more in their second collection of inks. I think I will use artichoke for this one, this third layer. And this is the third layer, and it's fairly easy to line up this final layer with the leaves and the polka dots here, and the sort of to finish the square off and the triangle, and just tape it down. Luckily the rain has decided to stop here today, and it's a little bit brighter outside. You might hear that I'm still suffering from this cough and cold. It just seems to be lingering, though I am feeling a lot better than I was. But this week it has been half term, and one of my boys has got earache and a cold, so it's just endless at the minute with these bugs, I think. But it's been nice to chill out a little bit with them and just have some much needed downtime. Luckily we got away for the weekend. We had a couple of days in Blackpool, and luckily that was before he started feeling poorly, so at least we managed that at the beginning of half term. So here we are doing the third layer with the artichoke colour from Concord and Ninth, and that's better. So you can see all three colours and the design, how it is built up. So then for the next layer, what you're going to do is you can line up wherever you like, really, or start wherever you like with the design. When I'm doing when I know I'm filling, I always seem to go for this lower corner here. It's just automatic for me. And as I say, I always start with this top layer of choosing the one with the 5 lines, and I can just sort of centralize it where I'm happy to fill it in. So then we're going to go back with the same evergreen colour. I realise this video might be a little bit longer today, but hopefully you will still enjoy watching me as I fill this background with the Layering Bauhaus blocks. Thank you to everyone that has watched all the videos so far. I know I still have quite a few comments to catch up on, but the ones that I've caught when they've come through on email, I've absolutely enjoyed reading about your traditions at Christmas. It's always lovely to know what other people get up to on Christmas Day. I'm looking forward to Christmas this year. The boys are a little bit older, obviously, and I think it might be the last year we still believe in Santa. So I'm going to make the most of it. So I'm going back here with parsley for the second layer. So this week, the prize for the 12 days for week 7 is the Layering Bauhaus Blocks stencil and the Mid-Century Modern Christmas stamp set. Obviously, like I've stated in the other videos, if you already own these products, an alternative to the same value will be offered. So don't let that put you off commenting for your chance to win. As I say, I will offer alternative prizes if you already own the products. I'm struggling to think of things for you to tell me, so for this week, just drop a comment. I'd love to know what you think of this stencil. Is it something that you would use, or have you got already and you're already enjoying it? I'm enjoying, obviously I designed it, but I am enjoying the versatility of this stencil, that it doesn't just work for masculine cards, it pairs with florals, and obviously here I'm pairing it with Christmas. There's just so much you can do with this one stencil, and I just think it's super fun. So now, as you can see, I've done the 3 layers there. Now what I want to do is fill in this section here, and then I will move to the top, filling in this section up here, and then we move to the other side, repeating the process. So I'm starting with a different layer this time. I'm using this one so I can line up the triangle here in this bottom corner. So when you start filling in to fill a background, you do have to sort of change your layout if you want to get it all lined up nicely. Obviously it doesn't matter too much, because you can have it a little bit with bigger gaps or whatever, you know, there's no hard and fast rules. But obviously I like to try and line it up as best as I can. And as you're coming off the card, there isn't quite as much to ink up, so it shouldn't take you as long. If I don't put my lids back on my inks, that's when I start getting ink everywhere. So here I've just lined the triangle up. So this was layer 3 originally with the artichoke, and I'm trying to remember and look at the colours before I start inking that's already left on the stencil. I know a few people have marked their stencils with layer 1, 2 and 3 to help them as well. You can always use a Sharpie on them to do that. And then the 3rd layer. And this is just the Scotch tape that I'm using. It's nice and low tack to go in and add. And it's quite, as I say, it's quite a long process, but I quite enjoy the process of building this stencil up. I enjoy crafting for the therapeutic qualities of it, as well as sharing my own designs and everything. So yes, it's time consuming, but it's therapeutic at the same time. So here, this time I'm going to go in and add, so I'm using the 2nd layer this time here to fill in the design at the top here. So this was the 2nd layer using parsley. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this stencil. I've used it a lot recently, and and I think everyone who's bought it so far is enjoying it. So yeah, just tell me, or even drop a link if I haven't seen, or commented on anything that you've made and you might have shared already on social media. I absolutely do enjoy seeing what everyone makes. And we're going to go back to this layer that uses the artichoke colour. I'm trying not to keep you too long today as I share this card. The last part of it is fairly quick. This is probably the longest part of showing how to fill a larger area. But I think it's always the bit that people sort of like are a little bamboozled when they first look at this. Yes, it makes a beautiful focal point, but the way I've designed it is that you can fill a larger area by moving the stencil to fill a background. And I think that's one of the fun qualities of this stencil, is that option of it's not just a focal point. And it is fairly easy to line up. Obviously I'm rushing a little bit here, than not taking my time like I would be if I wasn't on video, because I am conscious it gets a little bit boring sometimes. Once I get a hang of doing videos more, hopefully maybe I will, instead of talking while I am recording, I will go back and add a voiceover so I can speed up during things. But I am still learning, and I haven't quite got to grips with editing videos yet, so hence why I am talking while I am making. So apologies for that I will slowly learn more as I do more. A bit like when I first started Uniko, nearly made an error there. I wasn't paying attention, too much talking. I've overlapped my design, so I'm just going to change my order. Sorry. So here, I'm going up here now. Nearly overlapped the design, which wouldn't have been horrendous, but I spotted it as I was lining up. So here I'm lining this in the corner here. So yeah, I was saying I learn as I go along, and the more I do something. And when I first started Uniko, I wasn't that au fait really with using Adobe Illustrator. A lot of my designs were originally hand-drawn, and then I digitalized them simply for stamps. So everything was originally hand-drawn and then taken into Illustrator. But then the more I've used Illustrator over these almost 12 years, I've learnt more and I've taught myself more. So that is what I'm hoping when it comes to videos. The more I do it, the more I try and edit these videos, the better I will get, hopefully. So yeah, just adding, lining it up here, and this is the evergreen colour. The only thing is I'm starting to get ink on my hands. I'm conscious of that. I made a few boo-boos earlier, getting ink where I didn't want it. Has that happened to anyone else? And it's so frustrating when you're trying to make a clean and simple card as well, and you get a little ink smudge where you don't want it. So, luckily I do keep the stamped chamois by the side of me, so I can wipe my hands off a little bit if needed. But hopefully, as I'm using all greens, it shouldn't matter too much. So this pattern is building up nicely here. Should only be one more of the 3 layers to fill the top, she says. So we'll test my theory if I am correct. I'll just use the artichoke. I never used to be a lover of green. It always sort of surprised me that my mum used to decorate a lot with green in the house, and it just wasn't my colour. I wasn't a fan of it at all. But as I've got older and the more I do crafting, I am enjoying green a lot more, which surprises me. Are you a lover of green? Do you use it in your crafting and house decorating? Or are you not a fan of it? Maybe that's this week's question. Oh no, I lie. So there is one more, and it'll be just to fill the top square in the middle at the top. So I'm just making sure I leave plenty of space to fill that one. So this layer is your parsley layer, and I'm talking out loud so I remind myself what colour I am on. So maybe this is a little sneaky peeky. Maybe it's a nice way for me to gauge if people would like it or not. But I have started designing another version of the Layering Bauhaus Blocks to work alongside this stencil. Does that make you excited, or do you think, oh no, I wish you'd do something different? I'd love to know. Are you loving this stencil as much as I am, and would you like to see another version that can be used on its own or combined with this one? As I say, I have been playing around with a new design, and I've also been playing around designing some additions to the mid-century modern collection overall. There's a few gaps, and I'm loving this collection, and I'm getting some lovely responses from the shows and customers about the collection, hence why I am expanding it, and I've been playing around with some new ideas. So hopefully they will be out for our birthday in February. I do have one tiny release planned. It'll probably be the beginning of December, and it is a tiny release, but there are a couple of things that I can't wait to share. But then our next main release will be February, to celebrate our 12th birthday. Keep February the 11th, save that date. That is Uniko's official birthday, and that'll be the date of our next stamping retreat as well, here in the northeast, the same venue that I used for our retreat last month. So I'm super excited to be able to offer another one. It's going to be a birthday bash to remember for sure. So here I'm just filling in the last little gap, and it's parsley that I need to fill this gap with first. Hopefully you are seeing how I am lining up and choosing the layer to fill it evenly as I complete this. Yes, so keep February the 11th open in your diaries. I'll probably put the details up soon to gauge interest in case I need to book the slightly larger room. There's a smaller room that we used for the last retreat, but there is a larger room if the attendance is going to be big, but it's going to be one to remember for sure. It's going to be enjoyable. All the ladies that came to the last one thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know a few of you missed out, maybe because I didn't put the date out quick enough, and hopefully this way, knowing the date a little bit more sooner, you'll be able to plan a trip if it's further afield for you to come up north, but it will be worthwhile for sure. And if you like the mid-century modern collection, I think it's one that you'll enjoy coming to as well. Anyway, so there we are. There is the panel completed, and it's looking really nice in them 3 shades of green. I'm pleased, and you can see now the design built up. It was worth not using a repeat of the colours, so you can clearly see all the patterns. So to finish the card, I'm going to do a similar panel. I've cut a piece of white card here. It is 7 by 10, and I'm just going to adhere it to my work area here, just so it doesn't move while I stamp my sentiment. So again, I've gone for the Merry Christmas from Mid-Century Modern Wreath Builder. The size is just right for my card, being a sort of accent sentiment rather than a focal sentiment. Usually I'm just making sure this is well inked. It seems a bit pooly on my, I'm just going to wipe that off. The black seems to be pooling a little bit, so I'm just going to wipe it. I've just wiped it off on my stamp chamois, and I'm just going over with a pencil eraser here just to give it a bit more, give the ink something to stick to, and that seems to be a lot better. It's not pooling as much. And I'm just going to line my sentiment up here at the bottom of my card. I'm conscious because I want to stamp the triangle to make it a Christmas tree. So yeah, that's stamped a lot better than I think the first one would have. I'm just switching out for the Merry, and before this one I'm going to do the same, just go over, and it just helps the ink sit a little bit better on the stamp. Sometimes, because I did give these stamps a little bit of a clean with soap, warm soapy water, and I think sometimes when you do that there might be a little bit of the soap maybe left on that just causes the ink not to sit as nicely. And I'm just centralizing this. I might not be completely lined up, but the quirkiness of the sentiments, you don't have to be totally perfect, but that has come out nicely. I'm pleased with that. And then we're going to stamp the triangle bit of the Christmas tree. So hopefully now you're seeing the reason why I didn't make it look like a complete Christmas tree to start off with. Keeping it as a geometric means that there is a lot more you can do with this triangle than just use it for a Christmas tree. It makes the set more versatile throughout the year. I know I am enjoying using it for various different accents and things, playing around with pattern. I do like geometrics, so that was one reason why I didn't have the stump, the trunk of the Christmas tree attached. Hopefully my head won't get in the way here as I stamp the trunk. There you go. And then just to add a little bit of colour, I'm going to use 2 shades of red, I think, for my Christmas tree. In the one on this card I used red and green, but with the background not having much red in, I'm going to use 2 shades of red here, and I'm just using these are stamping blends from Stampin' Up. When I know that I'm not going to do a lot of shading or layering of colour, I use these if I'm just doing flat colouring. If I'm going to layer colours, like if I was colouring the poppy, I do tend to reach for my Copic markers that I have sort of slowly built up my collection of colours to do layering and shading. But a trick I did learn a long time ago, if you don't have all the colours with Copic markers or alcohol markers in general, you can add shading using pencils, so your Prismacolor pencils or whatever make pencil you use. I use Prismacolor. I invested a lot of money quite a lot of years ago because I did tend to use my pencils a lot more than markers. So you can add shading with pencils as well, and they work nicely together. So I'm just quickly colouring in here to finish, and I'm gonna add, I have one more star left here on these self-adhesive shapes, which is quite handy to finish my Christmas tree off. You could go in and add Nouveau drops or glitter drops or anything really if you wanted to add embellishment to the Christmas tree, but I'm keeping it quite simple. And I've got some adhesive squares here, foam squares, that I'm just going to add a slight bit of dimension to this panel and then adhere it to the card. So I tend to use the little squares. I know some people find these really fussy and use bigger strips of foam adhesive, but I feel that you don't really always need a lot of foam adhesive. I use these squares, and I usually have one nail that's fairly or long enough to peel the back off, because they can be a little bit fiddly. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. I know this one's been a little bit longer than the last couple of weeks, but I still hope you have enjoyed it and understand the Layering Bauhaus Blocks stencil a little bit more and the possibilities. So even though we've spent all this time stenciling, I am now going to cover some of it up to put this panel on, but you still see enough of it from behind. And as I like clean and simple, it does simplify the card a little bit better. So there is the finished card. Thank you for joining me this week for day 7 of the giveaways. I hope you like the prize. I hope you'll drop a comment, like the video. Please share with your friends. I would be most grateful. And check out the blog post from earlier today where I have shared this card. There is another prize on this blog post and social media posts containing this card. Plus, if you link up to the blog hop, you have the chance of winning another prize from Uniko, and there are other sponsors as well. So lots going on, and there is a little discount code on this post as well if you're thinking of placing an order in the next few days. There is a discount code anyway. So thank you for joining me today, and as always, I appreciate your comments and support of Uniko, and I will see you next week.